So you've separated with your partner, but as difficult as it may sound, keeping the right mindset during separation can mean a world of difference for not only you, but your whole family, including your children. So tell me, why is it so important, in your opinion as a lawyer, that people are rational during separation?
It's important for so many reasons. For their own benefit, primarily for the benefit of their children. But when naturally people have a tendency to act irrational. It's an emotionally volatile situation, potentially. It's essentially a grief process, separation. But it is really important to take a step back, look at the big picture, and not get caught up on the little things. We find when people act irrationally, sometimes it can come back to bite them, so to speak. In today's age, the most common issue with that is the use of social media. So it's quite often that we're having to say to clients, just don't do it, get off the social media for a while. Certainly don't use it to vent your dirty laundry, because that's exactly the sort of thing that can be put before a judge at a later date, and it might not look very pretty. Obviously for their own well-being as well, they don't want to be caught up with so much anger, be worried about how their conduct's going to potentially harm them or their assets, or primarily their children in the future. And if they're acting irrationally, that will impact the children, because they will know that the children will feel more unsettled. There's a whole flow-on effect.
Well, personally, as a child of divorce, I can tell you, kids feel it, they know.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the things that I've learnt through, my parents' divorce when I was 2, is that children they know how to behave for each parent, so that they stop the volatile situations.
That's right. And with that comes a whole host of secondary issues. For example, if parents are taking what their children, if they're quite young, say without a grain of salt, and that causes problems. And not only just acting irrationally, but also if parents are speaking badly about the other, whether it's to the children or even just in the presence or hearing of the children. It is the case, and research shows that the children will remember that, and they won't remember the bad things that were said about the other parent. They'll remember that parent saying the bad things. So I suppose that's also something that people need to take into account and think about the long-term effects, not just the here and now with everything happening, but really take a step back and assess how you're going to conduct yourself.
Yeah, well, I think, for my parents, from my memory, yes, they always bagged each other out, but it always just made me feel sorry for the other parent, and so it actually backfired on them.
Right,
so instead of they were trying to turn that child against the other parent, but if anything, it turned the child against the actual parent doing the bagging out.
That's right. I mean, people that I know that have been through it themselves, and you might be able to relate to this, they remember being with one parent and they were always speaking badly about the other, and so they felt like they didn't have a very good time at that place because it was all negative and upsetting. Then they went to the other parent and they could just be a kid. And so they have those happy memories associated with the parent that wasn't speaking badly about the other. So very important to consider that long-term effect.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the things that people forget is that your children are with you for a really, really long time, and then they'll have children, and you've got weddings and 21st and big birthdays and grandchildren to come up in the future. You don't want that divorce going from generation to another generation.
That's right. Really important. Hard, but very important.
Yeah. So what tips have you got then?
Think before you don't do anything on social media in terms of your separation.
Especially don't drink and post. Okay?
Absolutely not. Think before you text or email. Think before you say things in person or on the phone. Just think. If you're upset or angry, vent about it to someone else, to a friend, to family, or to a psychologist, whoever it is. Don't be afraid to vent. Some people say, I feel like I'm talking about the same things, and people are always hearing about my problems. And I say, well, if the shoe was on the other foot, you'd be there for them. So don't be afraid to vent, because it's something that's necessary.
Just don't vent to your children.
Absolutely not.
And so what if you have got a partner that's been sending horrible text messages and sending horrible emails at every opportunity, and being irrational all the time?
Well, I suppose there's some steps that could be taken. I mean, if it's not just irrational and upsetting behaviour, if it becomes so bad that it's harassment or abuse and that sort of thing, there are steps that can be taken. For example, they can apply for a protection order if it becomes all too much. But if it's a matter of, they're just texting awful things, usually the best course is to ignore it. Call them out on it the first time and say, look, I know you're trying to get to me. You're not doing that, but you're not doing yourself any favours either.
Yeah.
And if it continues, the best option usually is to ignore it, rather than to have a knee-jerk reaction and text something back that you'll regret as well, and making yourself look just as bad as them potentially, which is hard.
It is hard. It is hard. So, like many things in life, keeping positive as much as you can is going to make it a better separation. But in the end, it's all about what's best for your children. That's what you've got to keep thinking about. You've got to keep thinking about the future. It's not just now that you're having these problems, it's the long-term effects. So for expert advice on separation, speak to the friendly team at Ruhl Family Law Centre today to see how they can help you.